So this thing was surprising, and I don't want us to potentially get super excited about this if we don't know exactly what it is, because maybe there's a much more deeper argument for what they're doing here. But from what I'm understanding is Snowflake has released an LLM called Arctic, and the idea here is to give a more flexible model to their enterprise clients to use their large language model in order to organize data. I guess we'll start off with you, Dom. Any thoughts on this? Maybe I know you're still looking into it, but
yeah, I wouldn't count them out, right? Like I was thinking about it when they posted recently about this, and with this new CEO saying that really this is the tip of the iceberg for them in what they're offering. I think this is still going to be a good stock and a good company. I did close my position and just poured it into Palantir because I have a higher conviction in Palantir. But I do think there's a lot of use cases for Snowflake that other companies have to still use them for certain functionalities.
Yeah.
And we've seen people from Palantir talk about all the time using co-collaborating solutions like Snowflake, Databricks, other things, AWS. So good for them. They're innovating. They're trying to figure out where their niche is. I think it just that makes things stronger for Palantir, especially with partnerships and integrations because it's so open API. And I think what Lunar put in the chat really just sums it up. Like the competitive moat is boot camps cannot be replicated unless you can do the same speed to value in such a short amount of time. You can't compete. Period. So until we start seeing people quote other products like what people are saying about Palantir, I'm not too concerned. If anything, I just think it's more integration. Because AIP is not an LLM. AIP enables all the other LLMs. So
that's what I'm confused about. Vince, do you have any thoughts there? If AIP is where we think the value is deriving from, but a competitor to Palantir says, no, the LLM is what's going to give people more value. Why do you think they're going that route?
I have no clue. When I saw it, I was like, you guys are lost. It's like LLM is such a commodity. And I was thinking that how brilliant is Palantir that now all these earnings are coming out. And think about this. Palantir is the leading AI company, and all the other AI companies are scrambling to waste all their CapEx at NVIDIA. And they're like increasing their CapEx by billions. And they're rushing to get out the latest LLMs. And, they have engineers working on all this. And then we have Palantir, who is not buying any of the GPUs because, they're agnostic to that. They're not developing their own LLM because they're agnostic to that. And they have this like insanely CapEx light model. They just innovated a little bit on their sales, and they're leaning back and feels like they're taking the whole market. So it just made me appreciate Palantir on a whole new level.
Sorry, I was on mute. Or Dom, you're on mute as well. Go ahead, Dom. We're both on mute. That was funny. Go ahead.
Raceland said, LLMs without ontology, meh. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like at the end of the day, it took so many years and R&D and thought process and baptism by fire and blood, sweat, and tears to create the ontology and learn what they were actually creating, and then seeing all these use cases. And then, Cart figured out, people are going to need this like 4 or 5 years from now. Like, you just wait. And he was saying it, and we're like, that's pretty bold. That's pretty cocky, saying that you sell software that people don't realize they need.
That's why we love him, to be honest. That's why.
Honestly, I'm going to say checkmate on that, because in 2-3 years, he's definitely proven that right. That no one was talking about stuff like this.
No one was talking about the contextual architecture for how data would exist to derive business intelligence from in 2021. It was a lot of other stuff around data, but it wasn't core business intelligence. And now with the use of LLMs, it is only how much more valuable and useful you can be and productive in an organization. And that comes from that comment, an ontology reading into an LLM. Arnie, I spoke to some high-level data science people that told me this was a commodity as well. Do you agree, or do you think we're missing something here around this?
What happens when you have a very good player in chess, a maestro, and plays with someone else who's not a maestro? What happens? He just wins. Dot. And we know Peter Thiel is a anything a maestro or even higher, like he is top ranked in the chess. And I think with these moves, we are actually seeing that mentality, that culture of winning that also Sham mentioned in play. And how did they know? Well, I think on one side there is a rationality, but on the other side there's also experience. Palantir has been building these tools already for the army, already from the fact that before LLMs became cool, there were already AI models, mainly targeting models. But if you think of it, the fact that a model is an LLM is just a complication of the fact that you are dealing with multiple models. So if we go back in the past, when we saw meta constellation, there was that little sentence, little moment where they say, from the satellites, you have the automatic update of the model, of targeting model according to the changing situations. So essentially, you have an infrastructure that helps you orchestrate different models given different conditions. Wait a second, that's AAP. So remember, Matt made a video. Look, this AAP is actually something that was already there.
Yeah.
Only it was a different focus and a different name, maybe, but the core idea was exactly the same. I think even internally they thought edge AI models, this stuff would have taken off better. And then with ChatGPT, essentially they took that part and they made it like a full product to capture this AI wave. And now we have been seeing exactly what Karp thought, and he's like, from his position now, he's seeing all the gladiators fighting while he's just there for remaining ones to actually be selected. And the way Palantir can actually help, share the screen a little bit, please. Like this picture shared by Lord Grimm exactly point to that direction. Like, look, this is a catalog of models, and essentially you can switch between a model or the other just with a click. So where's the mode here? Only in the reputation of a brand, on how cool or maybe how specific these models are for specific use cases. And what Snowflake is doing, in my view, is hey, holy shish, with people say we are not an AI company, let's make what makes us an AI company with hat. Let's take an open source model, let's pack it a little bit better, let's maybe simplify it for enterprise uses, and here we go. So I think Snowflake is on the rush of, hey, we want to participate to this run. We're not just a data warehouse company, not AI, as the Databricks CEO mentioned. On the other side, I think there is an emergence of this trend of large language models on one side, and these smaller models, models like these enterprise focused from Snowflake. Also, ServiceNow is building its own. Actually, is already open. ServiceNow GPT essentially focused again on enterprise models, and it's just a simplified version. Like I talked also with an expert, and he told me, look, you have to consider that these models are very costly. Like large language models are very costly to keep and maintain because it's large. And when
you
you
buy
deal with
GPUs, you have to train them. Yeah.
when you have a very specific use case, you want a model that is tailored for that specific use case. Like if if your company makes milk, you want essentially the LLM to be trained on milk, not on all food in the world.
Right. Yeah, I think this is really interesting. The other thing here is like, is this a move of desperation, right? And I don't think that's the case, but they've done 4 acquisitions. They really didn't have an AI play. The street obviously doesn't think they're AI. I mean, the stock has not recovered from the earnings collapse. One could argue that the CEO leaving was enough to have it not recover. I think, going down almost 40% after the CEO leaves is a bit ridiculous, right? So like, what is the street not seeing here when it comes to AI? and maybe creating your own LLM, which is, I think they said a little bit better than Meta's Llama 2, but not the Llama 3 that came out. And like spending all that time and infrastructure, like Google, like Meta tanked this week because they were spending $5 billion more on CapEx, and the street got upset. How much is Snowflake going to spend to, as Arnie said, keep these LLMs trained and ready to go? And like, how much incremental value is that going to bring? I think that's the question here.
Well, consider this thing. Sorry to jump in. Have you seen Musk rising at $6 billion for XAI out of valuation of $18? Okay, where all that money is going probably to go to Nvidia again. I'm liking it. So I think we are at the moment where spending a lot on this Nvidia stuff is acceptable. Actually gives you a higher valuation. So it's like from a company standpoint, you know what? It's shareholder money. let's throw it.
Vince, go ahead.
So I just wanted to add to this point where you said, like, is it desperation? Like, we have been nagging on Snow for the lack of innovation. And I just want to say that Amit came out with an LLM model faster than Snow came out with their own LLM model. So
but let's see, like,
to say that.
And when I was building Hobbits, which is hobbits.ai, that's a Palantir LLM I built on a lot of my Palantir content. It was, it didn't take long. Like, you just, there's all these, you can train models very easily, but Snowflake's, if they're theoretically managing entire Fortune 500 companies' data, that's a big cost to them at the end of the day. So I don't know why GPT-5 is about to come out. The first H200 Jensen hand delivered to Sam Altman on Tuesday. So like, why would anyone use Llama or LM or Gemini versus GPT-5 when it comes to the powering of your data? I just don't see where the real moat is.